know they too like talk. Animals they in human form. Body man nobody like walk. But you must hustle if you want job. You no finish them on fight us. If them they run them no fit catch up. I know they from say I too righteous. No con they from say you don't like us. You know get the time put it on the energy. Got my mind on my steady green like broccoli. Steady on my mind on the one baby. Cooking and but it all is where we go. Now they make my body get old. Become on the doors. Yeah, we did all swear when we know. Behind everybody knows. There's no door we go.
Another banger. Literally, you're gonna run that again in just a 1 second song.
Just for me, Jack Bata, I dey go Ghana. You never thought you dey come back. Which kind of money you never see before? Cause hello me, got me feeling I'm making my day. AJ, never take my cake away. AJ, you can't count my plate. I just did my lane. You know get it time, body. Energy, come on. Make it dance like broccoli. Steady green like broccoli. Steady on my grind, oh yeah, what you want? Fantasy. You want to check if my daddy do. They don't swear when we more. Now they make my daddy get on. You can't money with us. Yeah. They don't swear when we more. Behind everybody knows. There's no money with us. They don't swear when we more. Now they make my daddy cross. They can't money with us. They don't swear when we more. Behind everybody. There's no money with us. No darling.
Good morning, amazing, beautiful people. Thank you so much for joining me here on Let's Pop with Iritan on the best radio station in Africa, the Black Hot Fire Network, where you find truth, facts in regards to what's happening all over the world in the 254. All about the African history, all about your identity as an African and understanding your power as an African. Thank you, everybody, joining me live on TikTok. So much appreciated. On Facebook, on X, so much appreciated. Remember that you can always download our app on Google Store, and the guys are using their iPhone, you can always stream on www.blackheartfriendnetwork.com, remembering that you are the change you need to see in the world, and understanding that if you believe yourself, nothing is impossible. Welcome to Let's Swap with Everton, and the topic of the day is the youths are the leaders of today. They always say the youth are the leaders of tomorrow, but we can say the revolution happening. So the leaders are already here. So they're basically the leaders of today. And it's always understanding that you got the power. You are the change of the world that you want to change in your amazing little corner. And basically surrounding yourself with the same mind like people who want you to be better. And basically bringing the best version of yourself. Thank you everybody joining me on here on Facebook. Let's walk with Iriton. And it's amazing because we can see that the spire of the revolution from the 254 here, Kenya, has basically gone all the way to Nigerians. And it's amazing because they've been organizing this, talking about this. And the same thing that was happening here in Kenya in regards to the government basically trying to come up with stories that, you know what, the protest has been funded, and basically bringing out some videos of the president of Nigeria in regards to the promises that he made to the Nigerians. The same thing happened here to the president, true, to where people are bringing out receipts in regards to the videos and what he said a few years back before he was the president and giving out a lot of promises. It's the same thing happening in Nigeria. A few years ago, they were basically watching that video in the morning, and Shimani mentioned that she was like, you know what, it's the same government, the same system. It's like they're always in the same school of thought, taught about how to venture into politics. And it's amazing because the Nigerians have already kind of started this revolution and basically pushing for this at Kano State in Nigeria. And the students are basically pushing for this. And we also have some people who are talking about a dialogue with the president. Talk about this on my show the other Friday, last week on Friday, where the government was basically talking about calling in leaders, the traditional leaders, to come and talk to the people because Nigerians has a lot of people, highly populated, and you can imagine how the project is going to be. And right now, they're basically calling out Peter's Obi's name. He was the one who was a running mate with the president Tinubu, and they're basically using his name, saying that he's funding the protest. He's basically one who's pushing for the protest. And I believe that the government is just looking for someone to blame for this, but it's nobody to blame for anything. It's just an organic thing that is happening that kid says. It was organic in Kenya and it cannot be stopped. And we see how a lot of conferences that have been held in Nigeria, it's like a lot of conferences are being held to stop this protest because the government is in their fear of what's going to happen. But what Peter Obi is basically pushing for is a peaceful protest that is basically in the constitution. He's basically pushing for this in regards to like it's going to be a peaceful one, and basically talking to the youth or the protesters that let's make it peaceful. And I believe the fact that he got or basically spoke about this, he was the one who was put into the factor or the puddle that he's the one organizing the protest. But it's amazing to see youth coming together. We always talk about having the same mind. Unity is what makes anything to be unstoppable. I want to share that video right away of how Nigerians are basically protesting in regards to a better government right away. And the hashtag that they have been using is end bad governance. It's amazing because we thought maybe this would not happen in Nigerians, or maybe we thought this is going to start with Nigerians, but it's still the same thing in regards to stirring this and basically for them to push for better governance in Nigeria. I'm gonna share a short video in regards to the protest right away. But thank you everyone joining me this beautiful afternoon. Really appreciate your time remembering that you are the change you need to see in the world. You matter, and tough value. Just always know your change, whatever you are, you can always make an impact. It doesn't matter where you are, it's still an impact.
with placards reading "End bad government now" and "End hunger." Residents of one of Nigeria's largest cities took to the streets on Monday. Large crowds marched through the center of Ibadan in the country's west. According to government statistics, the inflation rate in January rose to 29.9%, its highest since 1996, mainly driven by food and non-alcoholic beverages.
This country is bleeding. This country is hurting. This country is angry. People are suffering. No one can afford 3 square meters.
Mr. Obi actually mentioned the fact that who is funding this protest is the hunger and the anger of Nigeria, corruption, all these negative things are the one basically pushing people to basically do this protest.
Even 2 square meters in our dear country today again. Inflation on all goods, inflation on foods, inflation on cement, inflation on cloth, inflation on motors, inflation on bikes, inflation on transportation from one point to another.
Everything is expensive. There's nothing we want to do in Nigeria that we can do with ease. We just hope things get better. Even our parents are complaining. People want to go to school, but there's no money. Please help us, President Tinubu.
First of all, we can see like Nigerians has lots of tribes, like gazillion of them, and that has actually been the main contributing factor, mostly in Africa. A lot of tribes, a lot of division, and I believe it's amazing because we as Africans, we always hate on each other. We don't support each other. And then we pass the blame to other people. I always say, can we first look at ourselves and check ourselves if we're supporting each other as an African man supporting an African man, an African lady supporting an African lady. Let's cut off the hate, the intimidation. If you come together, and I feel like that's the protest here in Kenya we've seen, it's partyless, tribal-less, a word like that, leaderless, and we've seen we're basically fighting a common goal. It starts with home first before basically pointing at other people.
Bola Tinubu's government launched reforms last year that saw the removal of gas subsidies. This eroded incomes and savings while squeezing millions already struggling with hardship, a situation worsened by a plummeting currency.
That was a short video in regards to what's happening. I want to share also another video of Peter Obi, who was basically backing the protest in Nigeria, and what he was basically saying in regards to moving on with the protest and basically encouraging the young the young youth of Nigeria to push on with the protest.
Just like we went into the emergency.
Push into the main part of it.
Who are protesting is to do so within the law and in a civil manner that allows us of the nation to show that we live within the law. Everybody knows the things that are difficult. I always say, when they talk about the sponsors of the protest, I say the sponsors are very simple. It's hunger. So we all have to what Nigerians are going through. And I thank our governor for doing so. It is critical and important. Okay. Well, what I said to security agencies is that we will let them ensure that they manage the situation, again, within the law. We should not try to be overbearing. It should be something that we'll do within the law. There's nothing wrong. Protest is allowed everywhere globally. And I also say people protest in my house.
It was happening in the 254 when the president was basically talking about the fact that the protest was being funded with a lot of organization, just basically trying to find a blame or basically trying to blame anything that they can to make it like the protest is not genuine and it's not supposed to happen. It's the same thing that is happening in Nigeria. And I believe it's because there's a lot of intimidation from the government with this protest that is going to happen.
Why are they protesting? Engage them. That's what governance is all about. You talk with them. There's nothing wrong in that. I was governor for years and people protested.
It will be very, very unfair to say that things are not difficult now. Things are very difficult. Hunger is real, so and that is true. But how do you solve the problem? The problem we find ourselves in the country today is economic, and will I say that we are actually paying the price for bad governance that didn't start today. First of
Said something really important there. It said the main problem out there is basically the economic sector, and I believe this is always talked about here. Even Keith actually was talking about it right now. The fact that we have a lot of countries or foreign countries basically putting their feet in Africa because they basically know what Africa upholds, and the fact that maybe a lot of Africans have been basically they've been in a bubble in regards to everything that's happening. And now they're basically waking up, understanding who they are and what Africa has been carrying in terms of maybe wealth, minerals, and basically the fact that every other nation will not exist if Africa was not there, or if Africa closes its door. I believe every other nation will definitely crumble.
are actually paying the price for bad governance that didn't start today. First of all, for you to organize protests, the law requires that you get approval from the security forces, particularly the police. And somebody should take responsibility for getting that approval. So if you don't have the approval, then it will be against the law for you to go out on the streets to protest. So my final word is that people should think about the implications of restricting movement and possibly inflicting harm and more hardship on the people. For people in Abia, my advice is that people should not pour out on the streets because it may we're calling for.
That's what Peter Obi and basically his people are talking about, the fact that this protest is genuine, it's not backed up by any of their organization, or he's not really pushing for this protest. It's basically has happened, and he's basically pushing for the protesters to be very peaceful in regards to this protest, and the fact that it's a very, very organic protest. And I believe the fact that the president is very helpless because they're trying to understand how they can stop the protest, but there's no one to go to because it's everywhere on social media. Everybody's organizing this, and the hashtag again has been end bad governance. It's amazing because we see this also happen in Uganda, and I hope maybe they're not gonna paddle down in their bubble. I believe they can also do this because if you're in together as a unity or as a unit in regards to fighting anything, it's always possible. And I believe unity was always one thing that was missing with Africans and also in the African countries. I believe Dr. Chihombori Arikana, I love her. I love her words in regards to what's happening right now. It's basically happening. And she said the most important thing is gonna change Africa. This was like 4 years ago or five. Some videos that she shared is when we become united with each other, which is something we've not been seeing for like ever, you know. And she talked about unity in with the Africans. I'm gonna share that video also because I feel like we need to really hear what Dr. Arikana Chihombori talked about the unity with the African people, which is happening with the youth in Africa. And she basically mentioned the youth right away, that the fact that the revolution will start with the youth in Africa. And I believe we should not back down or basically be in fear in regards what's going to happen next. But I believe only the best can happen. Change is the only thing that's going to happen next. Change with better leaders, change with better governors, change with better people who understand the role of being a leader and basically not being a dictator. I will play that video of Dr. Chikombori talking about the unity in the African countries.
The exploitation that followed. I don't know how many of you are familiar with the Berlin Conference. The Berlin Conference, that's when the colonial masters got together and decided that these Africans who are so powerful, the Africans who were defeating them in battle with bows and arrows.
The Africans who are so powerful. I believe you're basically dawning or coming back in regards to understanding our identity as Africans, which is the most important thing, because I believe your mind is the most powerful organ that you can have in regards to knowing who you are, and know if you put anything into your mind, nobody can really take that away from you, because that's what you view yourself as and basically see yourself to be.
While they were fighting with guns, they wondered, how on earth are we going to defeat such an amazing race? You see, the truth of the matter is they tried for centuries. Any other race that would have gone what we went through as Africans would be extinct. But they realized that we are indestructible. So they decided to come together in 1884 November. Africans are forever defeated and dominated. So when they met in Berlin, they met to design a way that Africa and his people are defeated. That was 1884. Fast forward, nothing has changed. The strategy
I believe it
remains.
starts with liberating your mind from the strongholds of the lies we've been indoctrinated for who we are, and we should look up to other people. But I believe that was all a lie, because now the liberation of mind is literally happening. And that's what Dr. Arikana Chikombori is basically talking about right now, the African unity, which we had at the time.
In place. You see, they designed these economies in a way.
And remember, the Peter Obi basically talked about, I think his advocate was basically talking about the fact that the main issue in Africa is the economic world. It starts with the economic world, which basically is the main root in regards to what Africa is and basically what it carries in terms of mineral, talk about resources. And that's what is basically being stolen from Africa.
That as long as these economies remain what they are as individual African, when is Africa going to wake up and realize that as we are today, we will never be in a position to take our Africa to its rightful place on the world stage. As a continent, we are a heavyweight. We belong in the big league, in the heavyweight ring. And the only way that we can take our Africa to its rightful place, it starts with a conversation. We failed to come together because of the rule of divide and conquer, the seed that was also sown during the Berlin Conference. We must wake up and realize that we are victims of that. When we go to a negotiating table as Black people, we always go feeling inferior. It goes back to Berlin Conference. And they come in feeling superior. So until the African wakes up and realize that we're just as good as anybody else, that we can play the big boy game just like they do. And the only way we can win, however, is to cleanse this have a conversation with the image in the mirror, and unite.
Talks about unity. Unity is so important, and I feel like that's what has been missing with the Africans in regards to the tribe basis, the tribe base that is always a factor in regards to, okay, I'm gonna choose this leader because they come from whatever tribe that I come from. And we didn't see that with this project. And I feel also in Nigeria right now, it's not actually the main thing that they're looking at. The youth are just coming together to fight one common goal, and that is hashtag end bad governance. That's what Dr. Ari Kanachimamba were talking about, the African unity. It brought me back in regards to the word in the street, in regards to in concurrent to the Nigerians, what they're basically thinking about this project. It's amazing to see how people are giving out to basically talk about the fact that what's wrong with what's happening in their country, but everybody has an opinion, and also the word of the street always matter. I'm gonna share that video in regards to the people of Nigerians talking about what's really happening. Thank you, Chris, for joining me. I can see your comment. Babayao, Samu, thank you so much for joining. Let's go with Irita, and the topic of the day of this amazing Monday is the youth are the leaders of today. Because we always hear the youth are the leaders of tomorrow, but we can see leaders right now. So why not say the youth are the leaders of today, because you're the change you need to see in the world. And I can see Chris saying that it's hard to flourish with corruption. That's a fact. And that's a big issue. Tribalism is another problem. You basically said it right. Please, I definitely agree with you. I'm going to share a video right away talking about the protest campaigners tackling in Nigeria. So just a moment as I basically share that video. Thank you, Janelle Mosquito, for joining me this beautiful afternoon. Really appreciate your time. And everybody can join in the conversation, sharing your comments right away. I'm going to basically read it out loud in regards to what's happening right away. But remembering that your voice matters, and your voice can literally make a difference, because it always does, you know?
Earlier this week, Nigerian government held an emergency meeting in response to the nationwide protests. More than 40 cabinet ministers, including the National Security Advisor, attended the meeting. The government has sought more time to end economic hardships. The president agreed more than double the fee to each state to ease the cost of living pressures. Economic troubles for Nigerian citizens rose exponentially since President Tinubu ended a costly fuel subsidy and liberalized the Naira currency, and reforms needed to revive the country's economy. Inflation in the country has risen to a 2084.2%. The Tinubu government reforms. The last protest movement in Nigeria in October of 2020 began over abuses by SARS anti-robbery police squad, and it grew into the largest anti-government demonstrations.
Is fearing in regards to what the protests in Nigeria is going to be dire in regards to looting and goons being a part of this, destroying property. It's not the time right now to come and have a dialogue, because the timer is already there, but we didn't see any signs at all, you know?
They protest again.
Janelle Mosquito saying, Jumbo, habari, I hope you're doing better. Where's Nigeria getting their oil from? Nigeria?
Since the government first started in Kenya with a campaign.
She said it right. The protest first started in Kenya.
Is still on.
Good morning, good afternoon, Ray Classic, Steve. I hope you're doing better. Thank you for joining me on Let's Pop with Ibutan. The topic is the youth are the leaders of today.
Against William Ruto. It then inspired youth in Uganda to raise their voice against President Museveni. A crackdown on demonstrators is underway in Kampala too. And now Nigeria, where tensions are some change in their political leadership
in Africa.
Will these protests inspire winds of change in other African nations too? For more on this, we have with us Dr. Chukwudiri Nwangwu, a political analyst and postdoctoral research fellow. He joins us live from Nsukka in Ngunu state of Nigeria. The protests erupt in Nigeria, saying that they would head off anarchy. What are your thoughts on this kind of a reaction by the authorities in Nigeria?
Okay, well, in the first instance, the reaction from the Nigerian Military High Command, represented by its spokesperson, is a clear indication that the government of the day is more or less on a panic mode, given the impending protest that is expected to commence on 1st of August 2024. So the government is on a panic mode, and that in itself has made the military, which is largely a conservative state institution.
I understand from basically what's happening all over Africa, or the youth protesting for better government, better leaders, is that, you know what, Keith mentioned it. He said that what happened in Kenya, the protests that happened in Kenya, and the fact that there's a lot of questions asking that what's going to happen next. And you know what I said, the fact that it just happened organically, I believe change, the only thing that can happen, I believe it's change. That's the only thing. I believe it's so much that we're gonna have better leaders very soon actually. Better governors, people, even the fact that maybe we can see the president playing chess with us, it doesn't really matter, because I believe we're not gonna back down. And the fact that change is inevitable and it's just literally gonna happen. We only want new, better leaders, genuine leaders, Pan-Africanist leaders who have the best interests for the people, for the country, understanding their main purpose on those seats, on those positions, or in those positions that they're being given. Because I believe, obviously, a country is better with having a government. But if we have leaders with their own interests, understanding or being there in regards to their own greed, and basically overflowing their cup without thinking about the main reason that they're there. And that's what Africans are really tired of. We see Nigerians, they're talking about the fact that everything about their country is literally wrong, and they're so tired of being tired.
To the effect that if the protest turns violent, that it would intervene. But it is important to point out a few things here. One is that the military, based on extant constitutional provisions, does not have powers, rather is the state aggression.
Tired of being sick and tired is a good sign. That's a fact. I definitely agree with you.
Threaten.
You can see there's a lot of hashtag in regards to and bad governance is only their X handle, and they're saying reduce cost of living, reduce cost of governance, hashtag and bad governance in Nigeria.
Especially from the outside, not from within. Civil protests.
Yes.
Or social movement.
They're saying the government says Kenya inspired these protests, and maybe it could take a violent turn. That honestly might happen, because guys are really upset.
or civic movement as is being planned out by a number of.
So we see President Tinubu, the president of Nigeria, saying that he doesn't want Nigeria to turn into Sudan. We saw another spokesman, that was last Friday, saying that he doesn't want Nigeria to turn into or how Libya was, There's a lot of comparisons in regards to how the country might turn into. We saw the fact that today, or we read the news today, and the president of Kenya talking about the fact that Kenya could be like, is it Bangladesh and what's happening there? And the fact that they turned off all the media machineries. And we should be so grateful because he did not do that here in Kenya.
Is purely a civil matter which ordinarily should elicit the intervention of the police. Is the only organization or the institution of the state that is empowered to do so. So the military can only intervene on invitation of the president or his representatives to do so if the police and other paramilitary forces are overwhelmed. So it is not of the military to begin to tell the public or to threaten the protesters, the prospective protesters with an impending intervention.
Right. And Doctor, what are the main grievances that are driving the need for these nationwide protests in Nigeria, and what impact?
I believe Kenya was like a mirror to other African countries to basically point us to the main factors that has been affecting leadership in Africa. The fact that there is corruption, the fact that there's the cost of living was going haywire in Kenya, the fact that most leaders are there for their main interests or basically their own agenda, and they're not there for the people. And it basically woke a lot of African countries to understand, this is possible, and protesting is definitely in the constitution. And the fact that you can protest and leading the point out that this is not the government that we did route for, and this is not the government we want our future generation to find when they're here.
Would these protests have on daily life, security, as well as the economy?
Is called the End Bad Governance Protest. It is also called
other video, because we are almost winding up here on Let's Pop with Irutan on the word on the street in regards to what the Nigerians are basically saying in regards to the protest that has been organized. It's good to hear what the people on the street are talking about, or basically their main agenda in regards to supporting this protest that's going to happen on August 1st. But thank you, everyone, for joining me. Jumba, Kina Networks, Roni Saki.
Economy of the country is dead.
Talk. Real Mosquito, thank you so much for being a part of Let's Pop with Irutan. The topic is the youth are the leaders of today. And you can definitely download our app on Google Store, follow us on all the social media, and also you can always stream on www.blackhotfirenetwork.com.
Into the protest, and it will be bloody. And later they will say that it's Igbo man that is doing riots. Mr. Tinubu, I beg, make the airports do something for this our Nigeria.
The protest is long overdue. It should have happened a long time ago. But then, the Igbo national no going to wait at all.
Gary is 35. I am now. They do yam. Now we they do tomato. Now
I can say General Mosquito. Welcome on StreamYard. You're saying, Irutan, you understand what this Nigerian man is speaking out of his nose. It's saying, I can understand bits and pieces because they're basically speaking English, so you can basically follow in regards to what they're saying.
Hello guys, there has been so much talk about the end bad governance in Nigeria, the protest that is upcoming on the 1st of August. So we want to go out to the streets and get the pulse of the people, get their reaction. They say they are hungry, being power.
If it's where everything is working well, you cannot meet me standing on the road eating groundnut like this on this Sabbath. I'm supposed to be somewhere, eat a good food. You understand? Yeah. But be it as it may, the country has been getting so bad. My brother, let me be frank with you. Protest is a way of showing the government this is not what they are doing right. Peaceful protest, I mean.
Yes, we support
peaceful protest, I mean. But if I'll be frank with you, I don't think I'll be joining the protest.
Oh.
Because there are a lot of things that we know, and we for last general election how it went. And me being an Igbo man, you want me to come out and start
the fact that he started this conversation announcing his tribe, that's the main problem with African countries, tribalism.
Yes, and while I was in the midst of shouting, let us do the needful, let us do the right thing. I know the election didn't went fair, but what can I say?
So this is your reason for not joining the protest?
Yes, I will not join the protest because I think I vote the right candidate.
Okay. So, but
you're not involved. If you look,
he's still talking about his tribe. Honestly, it's not about tribes. It's not about political leaders. It's just about #bad and governance. It's not about tribes, buddy.
As if to say it's not going to happen, yes. But it is. And if Igbo man is involved, they will target Igbo man protest.
No, everybody should be involved. Everybody.
You can see, even in the north, I resided in the north a long time ago. Other tribes might have an issue, a conflict that doesn't concern an Igbo man. The next thing, they will start destroying Igbo man's property. So, in this current dispensation, do you want an Igbo man to come out and start doing protests? Why he knows that his property is one that is going to be looted and be destroyed.
Fast forward that guy.
Because
listen to 2 more views, and then we are basically ending here on Selfridge. Sorry, on I'm so sorry, guys. On Let's Pop with Irishan.
Now, if you are going to market, he said that 5,000 naira, you cannot buy yam. With market with 5,000, you cannot buy yam. Hey. 1 yam, you cannot buy yam. Let's talk about the egg. The egg now, say we dey import egg they call. We know they import egg now. Not before they lay the egg. We say that we are
talking about everything is expensive. Everything you can think of is expensive. We're going to get another view as we wind up.
Government property. So that is what I hate for people from
appear. So the thing is getting out of hand. And then whenever I'm already here again.
The signs are there.
Yes, the goes in the hand had the short. We are just in the hands of God presently. Because the master
he's talking his language. I want to find someone else who's basically talking something we can understand.
That will move out of the wharf with a container. Everything is just dead. So I don't know whether the handlers of this country realize that when you are increasing the tax net for people that are unemployed, that it will affect the economy adversely.
That is the finance bill here in Nairobi, Kenya.
I don't know whether they know that. Even if you na nokata na staff ndị enwe ha aka ọrụ onwe ihe there's no light. You are increasing tariff. How is that get money to? You are paying.
So in other words, the
middle class at all.
So the government, I hope, whoever that is cares to listen, the economic managers of this country, people are suffering.
Yes.
There is untold hardship in the land. Please address the situation. So, Mr. Aiga, we want to ask you again about the intended protest. People, the young people mostly, people like us.
Let's basically hear his take on the protest. He said the fact that everything, you're increasing tax rates for lights, everything you can think of, and we have people, majority of people are unemployed. He's saying in Nigeria, how are they going to pay for these taxes, afford electricity bill, and they don't have a basically monthly income salary. That's what he's saying, and he's basically giving his point on that. Let's hear his take on the protest as we wind up here on Let's Pop with Iriton. So much appreciate you people for joining me on TikTok, X, Facebook, and YouTube. Remembering that you are the change you need to see in the world. It's always about redefining Africans as we redefine Africa.
Agitating that there should be a change in the nation. There should be a progress towards a better governance. So what do you think about this protest that is coming up?
The protest is long overdue. It should have happened a long time ago.
I like this. The last viewer is amazing, saying the protest is basically long overdue. It could have happened a long time ago. I definitely agree with him.
But then, ndị Igbo na-atụ n'ogo eji wetete ọ bụrụ now that is happening. We can only
happening on August 1st, 2024. That's on Thursday. And the guy is saying people are so upset and angry, and he's basically wishing for a peaceful protest in Nigeria.
That you should stick to their protest and it should be peaceful. That's what I have to tell them.
Okay, we at Able Media we also advocate.
That's so tough. I hope it's going to be a peaceful protest, but I'm loving the motivation and the fire that the Nigerians are having. We saw people organizing this protest at Kano State, that is in Nigeria, to a few hours ago. I mean, the fact that some are pushing for the protest, some are basically pushing for the dialogue. And, well, let's see what's going to happen. That's on Thursday. But remembering, guys, here on Let's Pop with Iriton, it's always about redefining Africans as we redefine ourselves, talking about the African history, and most importantly, understanding the African identity. And I'm going to leave this with you as Dr. Arikana Chihombori says that let's liberate our mind to understand who we were, the most powerful individuals of all time. And it's always about understanding you are the change you need to see in the world. Take care. See you on Rhythm Scoop on a few minutes. And please remember to tune in and never forget who you are, because you carry the power as an African. Take care. Much love.
But you must not feel if you want to. You know, finish them fight us. If them they run, them no be catch up. I know they from say I too righteous. No con they from say you too like us. You know get the time for the hate and the bad energy. Come on, mind on my money. Make you dance like broccoli. Steady clean like broccoli. Steady on my grind, oh yeah, what they want telling me. Cause it not my fantasy. They want to check me, fight that be. But they rush for them. Now they make my body rush. You can't want you rush. Yeah, he they rush well, in the rush. Don't be hype, everybody rush.
Thank you, Chris. I can see your comment. Oh, thank you so much. You're saying that was very interesting. You're a very talented radio host. Thank you so much. You've made my afternoon. Thank you. I appreciate that. And thank you for joining me.
You never thought you did come back. It's kind of you never see before. Cause I don't need to be feeling me once again. I never take my cake away. You can't come my face. I just pay my lane one day. You know, get the time for the rate and the bad energy. Come on, man. Make you dance like broccoli. Steady me like broccoli. Steady on my grind, no one hear what you want. Telling me good enough, my fantasy. You want to check if my tap be good. But it ain't rush, quite well.